I think he just plays with that too. He likes to put up a show too. That's his entertainment.
I was happy when we played online and it was just the free stacks of chips.
I'd have a harder time with that.
No?
It is, but I enjoy the game with Oklahoma.
I'm not just
That's true.
you don't really can't really do that.
I think that's Broadway.
Yeah. I just like I like to play a few more hands, so I like to play it.
Well, it does. And my heart
Oh yeah. Have you seen Norman?
Check 1 2, check 1 2, testing 1 2.
I know he traveled up to
Oh yeah, you must be playing up better.
Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2, testing 1 2.
He's pretty close to you, right?
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2, mic check. Testing 1 2, mic check. Testing 1 2, 1 2.
Nice to be close on the If I start drinking coffee now, I will not sleep.
Testing 1 2, mic check. Testing 1 2, mic check.
Oh, that's a talent.
1 2, mic check. 1 2, mic check.
George, if you can sleep, you got a superpower. Really?
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Is there? It is coming?
It's kind of like
Testing, testing.
yeah.
So you're sitting here, right next to the moderator. So then I need to one side of
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2. Mic check, mic check, mic check.
Just think
No sound?
okay.
No sound from that one? Testing 1 2, testing.
You take the timer and the thing here with the space. Yes. And then
Right by, yeah.
I saw they were
Testing 1 2, testing 1 2.
well, in that case,
Oh, I don't know. It's still not my.
Yeah, now it's coming. Coming, yeah, come on.
Yeah,
Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2, testing. Very low. Testing 1 2, testing 1 2.
Richmond's too expensive for us, even though they're executive.
1 2, testing. Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2. Mic check 1 2, mic check 1 2, testing 1 2 3. Testing 1 2. Mic check 1 2. Very low. Okay. I think this is maybe something wrong with you. Alright, let's see the right channel. Check. Wrong right now. 1 2, mic check, 1 2, mic check.
I thought a bunch of people switched over.
So that's Marine Graves. Yeah. Then that's the screen. That's the timer. All the candidates will be facing here, and then this table will face there. And you can set it up.
Well, good for you for having the history. I find the history.
It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry. It's okay.
Sure, the names all sound similar. And they always have a whole big thing. And then the Surrey voters will vote in one party and want all this, and then they'll have complete control. And then the next election they'll vote them all up and another party is well, in Richmond, it used to be. Richmond, like, there's this mayor doesn't control the party, they all run business, and they all have to kind of advertise it. In Surrey, there's a whole ticket. You can vote in the entire city council and a mayor on the same ticket. And then we vote them out. We're here. They're the same mayor, and then the same 6 of 8, and then occasionally 1 or 2 turn over as most seats. It's weird how different areas have an entire thing. I think it's the second one can vote there. A whole bunch, a whole new set of people can go. And we don't like what we're doing. We're just going to go for this people that are probably no. I think only White Rock says but White Rock cuts off and becomes the city. George says no, we're on the border. And Langley is a Langley City and Langley Township. And Langley Township is like out to Alder or it goes all the way up all the way over. Yeah. Like Langley Township is all the way up. Usually like yeah.
So is it wire?
That's a lot of people. That's not
Food back at home now.
Then I don't know whether it's good enough. It should be okay.
I used to have
One more, George.
when I went to school, there was 2 classrooms and a gym, and our library was a book library. So the book fair. So once a month, so you have each 2 classrooms, and but they did have a gym. So that was the entire school. Yeah, it wasn't the high school, this was like
I think we're okay now. Oh, Ella, when you get a chance, when they start speaking, can you go onto YouTube and see if they're holding the screen?
Okay. Yeah.
It's on our channel.
They're usually very careful people.
There's going to be some.
You know where G is sitting? G, yes. She is this right here.
Somewhere here.
So I'm getting question already, so I need to know.
Okay, yeah, she's somewhere here.
Okay.
Yes. Hi. Hi, Valerie. How are you doing? Maybe, you know, why don't we move the station over?
Because I need to get the
Well, now let's give it a try. I can pull it. I may have to pull it in there a bit.
How are you? Jack Kelly. Yes. I love this.
I saw your sign that you were endorsed
When you pass along the question, so I'm going to fake shoes to fill, and I'm going to do
Yeah, yeah. So how usually Central
Asking me questions already.
usually Central just compared to what are those guys called?
Only I can compare with is the constituents in my life. Not just for me, the whole I've been living here for 30 years. This is my home. And for the last few years, someone that brings the sun can't make
noticed that too. I think the question I have to ask, so you're part of the party. Now, how much of the Constitution have you kept? You're not allowed to go back to it.
No, we're not. And that is actually an advantage for us to run as affiliated to balance the power.
It's got to look like you're defending.
So I think
Why you're not allowed to
well, it needs to be from the party, not just for everybody else. That's right. You did put the independent and the woman party. And you're a party. I am a party that you live longer with the name of
Thank you for being here.
We are all truly centralized group of 15 people. We have 15 of us, so very likely this election will be a minority government. So our group will hold a balance of power for different issues to protect our own community. So like what the Greens were last election. Exactly.
I'm just trying to see what color
It's too early to say.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out. Sorry. Am I making your way? Let me know. Oh yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm here. Yeah, I totally
Hey, who are you? Good to see you.
The first time I go in and out. I think I'm okay. Just you move back just a little bit. I'm very happy to. Thank you.
Well, you can't take anything too seriously.
I'm sure they have. I'm just because of the sound.
使啊，佢話 no need to change it。
哇，你唔錯啦咩？
唔係，佢話佢係 unaffiliated。Yeah, but we didn't. But we didn't put anything
Now you can reach it. That works. Do you have an external microphone? Right? Because I also struggle. Right now I have an external microphone, but I can't charge it. So eventually I need to unplug it when I run out of battery and I need to switch back to the phone, which is like half the flat, right? So with the external microphone, it receives much better. We'll see what happens. Yeah, I hate this. So take it out. Sometimes you need to rotate it, and you have got a small little. So right now you're horizontal, right? Okay. So you have a card. And then there. So when you now you can and then there's another part just before you knock it out. Let's see, go ahead. Slow it out, right? Okay. Is there not? Oh, yeah. Should be loud.
Yeah, in the road shape.
Testing 1 2, testing 1 check, 1 check 2. Hello, hello. Testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. Testing, 1, 2. Mic check, 1, 2.
Hello, hello.
Parallel to you right there. That's Frank.
I have a question.
Testing, 1, 2, testing, 1, 2. Mic
There's
check.
an empty seat. When is it going to be attending? Can I move that so we can have a little bit more elbow room? Okay, but we actually plan to do it afterwards. So I think you know that yes, we want to just show the name 10 and you can just move the chair. So that I can move the chair now? Okay, super, thank you.
check 어디가 connection 하면.
Okay, so do
Hey Maria, how you doing?
Good, how are
Ian here.
Yes.
Bring this closer to you.
Yeah. Wendy's
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I don't even know what percentage on it. I don't even see it unless I tap it out.
So the only one we're not sure is he said he's coming up. Never heard from him. So we don't know. Okay, so we actually have everyone here except we're not sure about it. So his seat is somewhere over there. And then I will take him. These people are not happy that the meeting is not then in that case they Okay, so if you do 6 o'clock. Yeah, I just okay. Okay, everything's here. Okay, so let all the questions and so we can start. Maybe
I will rotate them. I'll rotate. When they talk, I'll rotate.
Then you, when you're done, so you can take yeah. Then I'll go and take her on chance not there. So I won't say anything. Oh, then you say, oh, Hon Chen is not here. Then I'll go and take that. Yeah, because right now they don't like to have the other people's name tagged. Yes, people's name.
Oh, it's all Richmond. What's the M? Steveston. Steveston. Okay. Oh, so we have 2 Richmond centers. Steveston is behind. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Good evening and welcome to this all candidates meeting. We are here tonight at this beautiful center in Richmond. And I am Maria Rantanen. I am the acting editor of the Richmond News, and I'll be moderating tonight. And I would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the First Peoples of the Hunkaminam language group. So this all candidates meeting is being held in anticipation of the October 19th provincial election for 4 ridings in Richmond. Richmond Centre, Richmond Queensborough, Richmond Steveston, and Richmond Bridgeport. Some of those names have changed since the last election. And I'll just quickly introduce who is here tonight. We have at the far end on your left, Glynis Chen, who's the independent, Linda Lee, who's running for BC-NDP, and just before we continue, there's going to be no clapping. We'll go over the ground rules later. Yes.
Not fair.
Yes.
Not fair.
And then next we have Tomasz Rivotsi with the BC Green Party. Sorry, no clapping. Yes, thank you. And Teresa Watt with the Conservative Party is not able to be here. She's ill. And Han Chan with the Conservative Party is not here either. And then we have Dickens Chung, who's independent. Sunny Ho, who's independent, running as an independent. Henry Yao with BC-NDP also is not here. And Wendy Wan, who is unaffiliated, and Steve Cooner with the Conservative Party also is not here. And then we have Errol Pova, who's also independent. Aman Singh with the BC-NDP is also not here. We have Cindy Wu, who is independent. And Kelly Green, who's BC-NDP. Jackie Lee, who's unaffiliated. And Michelle Molyneux with the Conservative Party. So these are our candidates. So I'm just going to quickly go through the ground rules, which maybe I should have done earlier. So we are not going to have any clapping, and of course no booing or shouting from the audience. So just we expect appropriate behavior from everybody, and we'll have a lovely evening and in a good spirit here. At the beginning, each of the candidates is going to have 1 minute to introduce themselves. And then we have a theme question for the night, and we're going to ask this theme question from each of the candidates. As this evening is being, the theme is social justice, it is a social justice question. And then we have gotten many questions. We have some questions that we've formulated ourselves, and many from the public and from the floor. So if you do have a question, we'll be taking more questions, and as time permits, we'll ask as many as we can. So there are volunteers here, and there are 3 question tables. So if you need help, just put up your hand and a volunteer will help you and show you how you can write down your question on a piece of paper. We won't be doing open mic questions. And I think that's it for ground rules. So we will go and we will start by letting everybody introduce themselves. And I think because we started from my left to right, we'll go right to left this time. And each candidate has 1 minute, and you've been told you will get a warning of when you have 30 seconds left, and then we will cut you off after 1 minute. So Michelle Molyneux, go ahead.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for having us all here tonight so that we can show you who we are and how we'd like to represent you in the next provincial elections. My name is Michelle Molyneux. I am the Conservative Party of BC MLA candidate for the Richmond-Steveston riding. And let's put the big elephant in the room first. No, I do not live in Steveston. However, I am a long-time member of the Richmond Chamber of Commerce. I've also been working with a company based in Richmond, which I've made them #1 in the world. And they've also just been acquired, so there's a few millionaires. And I'm also a long-time supporter of the schools in Steveston riding as well. I want to be your voice. I want to bring back common sense into the government. And I want to make sure that all of you have the right and the choice of how you want to live in your life. And I also want us and the communities to prosper and have a great health as well. So my time's up. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Jackie?
Hi everyone, I'm Jackie Lee, the MLA candidate for Richmond-Steveston. A lot of you already know who I am, so I don't need to introduce a lot. I have been living in Richmond for 30 years, and I'm proud to be part of the Richmond-Steveston community. And the true thing, the good thing about me being running as an affiliated is that I can truly represent every one of you now. I don't have party constraint. I can speak up whenever I need to for the community. And this is extremely important. With my experience as Alliance Zone Chair and also Rotary President, I've been working hand in hand with the community for the nonprofit, for the Richmond Hospital Foundation, and also working with the government. And with my experience, I know that I can be the voice for everyone in Richmond-Steveston, represent all of you without anyone telling me what to do and what not to do, because you are the one who can tell me what I need to say in Victoria. Thank you.
Kelly?
Hi, I'm Kelly Green. I was elected to the BC Legislature in 2020. I've also served as Parliamentary Secretary for Fisheries and Aquaculture and Parliamentary Secretary for Environment. And I was previously elected to Richmond City Council. I was born in Richmond. I'm raising my family here, my 3 kids with my husband in Richmond-Steveston. We're so grateful to be able to live in a community that's so tight-knit and caring and does so much to make our little corner of the world a better place. I also personally went to Diefenbaker and Hugh Boyd School, and I hold a bachelor's degree from UBC and an MBA from Penn State University with a graduate certificate in sustainable business strategy. I've worked in top-tier accounting and banking firms as well as small business, and I got my start in politics fighting against the BC Liberal government closing schools in Richmond. I'm happy to say that we were successful in keeping them open. So as a longtime community member, I'm seeking re-election to be your strong advocate for Richmond-Steveston, and I'm committed to building a safe and inclusive community. Thank you.
Cindy?
Hi everyone, I'm Cindy Wu. So I live in Richmond, Greensboro since I was in elementary school, and I stay in the same area. So I graduated from Parsons, New York with a fashion design degree, and then I went to the world's #1 art school in Royal College for an interior degree, master degree. After I graduated, because I love my home so much, so I come back to Richmond and establish my own art organization and inspire a lot of my students into be a really creative individuals. So I also won the 2021 Vancouver Chinese Miss Chinese Vancouver champion. And then after that, I have done a lot of community work as well. So I'm committed to my society to make it stronger and better. I listen to the voice in the local area. Since I'm independent, I have no left or right. I'm speaking for my own community. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Errol?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Errol Pova. Unlike Cindy, I know absolutely nothing about fashion design. Yeah, I was born and raised in Nanaimo. I currently live in North Vancouver. If elected, I would certainly move to the riding. Just a quick thumbnail sketch. I served 3.5 years in the Canadian Navy back in the late 70s. Then I served 30 years at BC Ferries and retired as a second officer a number of years ago. This is my first shot at politics. I'm just fed up with the way things are going under, dare I say, all of the mainstream parties. I will represent my candidates in Victoria. I'll take their voice there. I will not be restrained by a party whip or the party leader. I'll say what my candidate. Sorry.
Thank you. And Wendy.
Hello. Oops. Hello, I'm Wendy Yuan. I'm your independent candidate for Richmond Center. Many of you know me through my community service for organizations such as Success and Richmond Community Foundation and Red Cross. So my family and I came 40 years ago I myself came with $50, nothing but a dream. And I raised my son and my family here in Richmond, and my work has been also in Richmond. I'm running as an independent because I can cut the red tapes, I can get things done. I don't have to listen to any party lines and talking points, and I can be your representative and serving you and you only. So I really, really hope that you can support me by voting for me. Thank you, and thank you all. Thank you.
And Sunny?
Good evening, everybody. I'm Sunny Ho, a businessman in Richmond. I am fighting for Richmond for this provincial election. No jobs. Maybe low supportive housing. Fighting for more senior housing for you, and hire more police for our safety. And also, we want a new hospital. Thank you.
And Dickens.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Dickens Chung, and I'm a father of 4 young, beautiful children. We lived in Richmond Center for the past 12 years. I'm a UBC finance graduate from the Sauder School of Business, and why I decided to enter politics is because I saw that the people's voices are usually ignored or often kind of looked over by politicians until 6 to 9 months before an election, and then they start to listen. And so I'm really sick and tired of that. It breaks my heart. And so I decide to stand up, stand in the gap, and be a voice for the people of Richmond. So my slogan is, Voice of Richmond, choice for people. As one we stand, truth we demand. We need accountability in the government. And I'm here to be your voice. I'm not constrained by any party, and I'm here to speak for all of you. Thank you very much and have a good evening.
Tomasz?
Microphone? Wonderful. Good evening, everybody. My name is Radulci Tomasz. In Hungarian, we invert the names, so Tomasz is Thomas in Hungarian. So if you can do something like Tom Ash, Mons Tomasz, that also works fine. Hey you, probably is okay as well. So you'll probably see me running around either on the track or all around the riding. I've already run the riding a number of times, I'm a runner, and it's amazing to see what kind of incredible diversity there is in this riding. And that's one of the most beautiful things I really love about it. So I was actually born in Vienna as my parents were defecting from Hungary. So I was a citizen of nowhere for the first few years of my life. So I understand what it's like to have no representation. Long story short, I ended up in Burkeville, on Sea Island, under the plains. So I understand about community spirit. And with that community, I've been working as the president of the Sea Island Community Association, and I've already have begun starting to build relationships with everyone. So thank you.
And Linda?
Okay, thank you. Good evening. My name is Linda Lee. I'm the candidate for BC NDP in Richmond, Bridgeport. It's so great to be here on the territory of Coast Salish people. Like many of you, I come to Richmond seeking opportunities and a better future for my family. Over the past 20 years, I have had the privilege of serving this community in various capacities. From President of Richmond Chinese Community Society to my involvement with Richmond Hospital Foundation. I believe in the value of the BC NDP that everyone deserves access to affordable housing, quality healthcare, and good jobs. These issues require experienced leadership and a government that puts people first. We have already made progress, but there is still more work to do. I'm proud to live in this community and call Richmond home.
Thank you. And Glynis?
Hi, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Glynis Chen. I'm an independent candidate in the Richmond Bridgeport riding. I'm a mother of two as a single mother. I like to voice out my voice to you. I'm here to work for our city and province. I raised $1 million for our cancer, Alzheimer patient society, but I hate to see our government does not spend the money in a good way. I'm so sad to see my friend, under 60-year-old, one by one pass away. My son graduated as a professional. He didn't find a choice and opportunity in Vancouver or BC province, so he left to United States. I would like to, on behalf of you, to say what's going on in our government. We have to balance the power of the government today. So the work I'm done, I never stop my charity work. So please support our BC. Be a beautiful BC and support our young children stay in BC. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your introduction. So we're going to go to the theme question that we have tonight, and you will all have 2 minutes to answer it. So it's the same question for everyone. So if you would like me to repeat it, because we're going to have all of you candidates, we'll start from my left to right again this time. And so if you want me to repeat it at some point, it feels like we've lost the thread, I can maybe repeat a couple times. But just to get started, we want to say that, affordable housing and homelessness, food accessibility, transportation, transit, health and social services, income security, and childcare. These are some of the topics around social justice that we want to hear about tonight. So taking into account all these issues on the local and the provincial stage, what will be your actions to increase accessibility and affordability? And so, Glynis, we'll get you to start.
Well, since we have more population grow up in our Richmond and BC, and we don't have enough transportation system to access from one way to the other way. It's a traffic jam. So this transportation system, we need to pay attention and more seriously to make save our time to travel, to work. And affordability, it's, the living cost is too high because our government doesn't how to manage the money to help us to have a standard living here. And we don't have a good care system, we waste all the money, and we don't have a good system to teach our young generation. So the young generation just kind of, leaving us. And so we have to keep our young generation here to build our beautiful British Columbia. And so this kind of system, we need to make a change of the current government. We need to have the better government is to balance the power. So today we have two extreme parties, one to left, one to right. We need to have someone like us, independent candidate, come out, to join together, to balance the power, to balance our government in a good shape. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda.
Okay, the first I would like to talk for the house. Housing is becoming increasingly affordable in BC with the price and the rents rising beyond what many families can afford. So my kids grow up here, they study hard, work hard, but they cannot afford a home in the community they love. So the NDP new announcement would allow hope for them to afford a forever home here in Richmond. The BC NDP has launched the Housing Action Plan, which aims to build 300,000 new homes over the next 10 years. Opening doors to home ownership plan to help 25,000 middle-class families break into the housing market every year by financing 40% of the purchase price by provincial government. John Ruster's plan would reverse our progress, leading to a further housing shortage and the rising rents. His policy would increase costs for renters and make it harder for working families to find affordable housing. So for the cost of living, right now many families in BC were feeling pinched from rising price on everything from grocery to rent. So many are living paycheck to check. So BC NDP has implemented measures to relieve the pressure. We cut the childcare cost in half, saving family up to $900 per month. So cancel MSP premiums and reduce ICBC premiums by $500 per year. Additionally, we've introduced a housing action plan.
Thank you, Linda. Tomasz?
Hello, folks. So, first thing to let you know about is that I am actually, to be honest, I'm new to the Green Party. I'm new to the political arena. You heard me talk about the political refugee thing. We avoided politics our entire lives. And so recently what's happened is that with the presidency of the Community Association, the first thing that I really wanted to do is to build relationships with all of our neighbors. I don't know if you're familiar with Burkeville, but it's kind of under pressure. It's kind of squeezed in between the runways. When we're in a good mood, we say we're nestled between the runways. When we're in a bad mood, we say other things. Long story short, we're under pressure. And so the first thing we need to do is in the Google age, everyone can find us now, and we want to make sure we preserve our really great community spirit that we have going on there. So, as the president, last week, I was meeting with the City of Richmond's director and also manager, so two people of community services and recreation, I believe. I may be getting their titles wrong. A gentleman called Keith, someone called Yvonne. We were discussing our community hall and how we have people who come to our hall. It's a two-story, wonderfully renovated heritage barn. Top story, hard to access. There's no elevator. So we've been discussing getting an elevating system because people, renters, our users, are having trouble accessing the second floor. So we were discussing this with high-level ranking people at the community with the Community Association and the City of Richmond. Also, we have a crosswalk that crosses Miller Road, extremely tricky to cross. Final thing, I have 30 seconds left. Bill 47. Maybe you read in the Richmond News. I actually stood with City Council and YVR opposing the inclusion of those 11 properties on Sea Island rather, in that transit-oriented area that the bill is trying to include. Long story short, we hope for an exemption. My time's up. Thank you.
Thank you. Dickens?
We did.
Yeah.
Yay! That's great news.
If we can, sorry. Yes.
Apologies. Yeah, sorry.
Not a lot.
Hello everyone, I'm Dickens Chung, and tonight we're discussing the issue of social justice and how we can improve the community and how we can make services accessible and affordable to the most vulnerable people in our society. But first, I think I want to talk about something that usually people don't talk about because it's not fun to talk about. Why do we have all these issues in the first place? We got to get to the root of it. We always talk about all these symptomatic things that we have to, now we have a housing crisis, let's deal with it, let's throw money at it. Now we have a drug crisis, let's throw money at it, But why? Why do we have these things? Why don't we have the money that we need to provide the services? Why is there such a lack in services? Because the government always overspends, over budgets, and there is no accountability and there's no transparency in how they spend the money and where the money is going. And so all we get every single time in the budget is a bunch of numbers, a bunch of categories, and a lot of billions, a lot of millions being thrown around. And what we see is that none of the problems ever get solved. I think you can all agree with me on that. And so promise after broken promise, we get into an endless cycle of, oh, here's election time, let's make all these promises, A, B, C, D, E, F, I'm gonna do these things for you. They get elected and then you don't hear from them for another 3.5 years, okay? People are so disenfranchised and disappointed, and I think we need to make a change. We need strong accountability, we need strong transparency, and not only that, we need consequences for ethics violations, for corruption if there's any, and we need to answer to the people. Hard-earned tax dollars are not for politicians to play monopoly with. So again, this is what I believe in. I represent the voice of Richmond. Together we stand, truth we demand. Thank you.
Thank you. Sunny?
Why NDP had money for the supportive housing for the job taker? Why no money for your senior housing in Richmond? We will fighting for it. And also, how about the safety in Richmond? I think everybody had a break in or your car in the parking lot in Richmond and find out some job taker in the parking lot, even in front of your door. So I will fighting for you to hire 50 RCMP to serve Richmond for the fund for the provincial government. And also, I hope no jobs in Richmond. We are fighting for you. Yes, we need to do that. Yeah, you had a kid, we had a kid. So, why the NDP government cheating the people of Richmond? To let those job takers, taker in Richmond. We were fighting for that. And also, how about the new hospital in Surrey? They had a new hospital in Richmond. The NTV say no, just use the old one. We will fighting for Richmond for the new hospital, and also whether a tunnel or a bridge doesn't matter. We really build immediately to improve our transportation. Thank you.
Wendy?
I wanted to talk about the housing affordability. Having a roof over your shoulder is a human rights issue. So too many people in our communities, especially seniors and low-income people, are actually priced out of living in a decent home in the community that they were raised and they have been living in. So I think as an independent candidate, I will work really hard with all levels of government to ensure that the initiatives for low-income housing and social housing and all the stuff that for vulnerable people and for people who cannot afford it is going to be realized. And that's number one thing that I wanted to do as an independent candidate. And I will also want to make sure that the food security, I was just listening to the questions because I didn't hear too many people addressing the food security, but I think food security is also a growing concern among a lot of people, because on the doorsteps, I've been talking to a lot of people, it is not about only, feeding people. It is also about finding the future sustainable solutions for our citizens. And I think in that, to that end, I, as an independent candidate, I will be able to cut the right tapes and make sure that our investment and money are going to be in place for people that really needed it. Because right now, the government, whether it's the government of the day or the oppositions, they're not doing enough. They're just, kicking the balls to each other and, thinking that this is not their problem. But as an independent candidate, I will be there for you. Thank you.
Thank you. Errol?
Thank you again. Constituent was the word I was looking for before at the end of my introduction that I got a little tongue-tied on. In any case, I'm absolutely delighted that social justice is the question that we're addressing here tonight. I've been a social justice warrior my entire life. I've been an activist on a wide range of issues, perhaps most notably the anti-tobacco issue. I was very, very much involved in, some of you may recall, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, myself and some of my colleagues went to what was then called the WCB. They were reluctant to deal with the issue, but I think we can all agree now that smoke-free air, virtually every public place we go, is a wonderful thing. I actually met a social justice teacher, a grade 12 social justice teacher, through a mutual friend of mine, one of my fellow anti-tobacco colleagues. He was a teacher at Notre Dame Secondary in Vancouver, and he invited me into the school on multiple occasions to talk to the students, a class of about 30. And I went in there and spoke a number of times about the tobacco issue, the leading and most easily and cheaply preventable cause of disease, disability, and death on the planet. I won't go too deeply into that. I've also been a 25-year volunteer with Sea Shepherd Conservation Society. I don't know if many of you are familiar with that organization, but I spoke about that issue as well. Yeah, as far as housing and the food and everything else is concerned, I'm as concerned about that issue as every other candidate is, and will do what I can to help resolve that problem.
Thank you. And Cindy?
Hi.
Hi everyone. So tonight I will just focus on my talking on a couple of the issues. So for the first one, I want to talk about affordable housing. I think I would definitely encourage the government to do more partnership with non-profit organizations or developers or even private developers for more partnership together to create more affordable housing for low-income family and for seniors, for middle class as well. And then secondly, in terms of public transportation, I definitely would support this one because in Richmond right now, we don't have enough parking space as always. So I really support public transportation in a sustainable way for e-bikes or cars that are sustainable. Right now, since I was in a design college before, we have a lot of technology that can make our life more easier. For example, we can use AI, a lot of AI technology to put in e-bikes that can make our life more convenient. Right now, I don't see a lot of changes in our community. So I think I will push that forward. And also I want to talk about child care center. Right now, we don't have enough child care right now. So we definitely want more funding regarding the child care center because children is pretty important to our next generation. We want to expand also the time for child care center, maybe that kind of will match the lifestyle of modern families as well. And then concerning this part. Thank you everyone.
And Kelly?
Thanks so much. Just want to, off the top, just correct a little bit of information that wasn't completely accurate tonight. The Richmond Hospital is actually underway. It's almost a complete expansion or replacement of the hospital. We're almost on phase 1. It's going to include an expanded ER, more beds, more operating rooms that are larger and have modern capabilities, short stay pediatrics, more CT, more MRI, basically more of everything. Our population is growing and aging. It's very important that we make this investment, and we're taking action. If you're looking for the whole scope of the project, you can find that on BCH's website. With respect to the preamble, it was very all-inclusive, and I think that it really reflects the difficult time that a lot of people are in right now. Finding that opportunity to help people is always top of mind. And affordability and housing are so intrinsically linked. With the way that housing is really hurting people's pocketbooks, it makes it really difficult when you're looking at the next steps. You're going to the grocery store, you're trying to pay for your kids' activities. So for housing, we want to make sure that homes are for people to live in. Fundamentally, that's the function of homes. And so we're taking action. We've taken action with the speculation and vacancy tax, which brought more than 20,000 units of housing back online. We've restricted short-term rentals, again, bringing so many more units back online, particularly in a city like Richmond, where we are so much affected by international travel demand at the airport. We've also got BC Builds, billions of dollars to unlock public land for middle-class homes and keeping rent to inflation. And for the first time of any major city in Canada, our rents are going down by a little bit, 6%. It's not a lot, we need to do more, but it shows that we're on the right track. For affordability, we've talked about, and time is up. Next time.
Jackie?
Hi everyone, Jackie Lee, Richmond Stevenson, the MRA candidate. I'm glad that Kelly mentioned about the hospital. The current government is having announcement after announcement. Who feels the shakes this morning? Richmond is an island, and if anything happened to Richmond, we are on our own. And the hospital is extremely important, which is built in 1964. We need to have it upgraded, and it was promised to have it upgraded and ready to go by this year, if not next year. But what we learned is more than double of the building cost now, and it won't be done until 2029 or 2030. So this is something that we have to fast track it. Once I get elected as an affiliated candidate, this is something that is top of my priority, and one of them only. As an executive MBA graduate from SFU, I learned that holding the government accountable and transparent is extremely important as well. I still remember I come from Hong Kong 1995. The first job I get is $1,000, and I have to pay tax under the Grant Clark NDP government, and the rent is back then $14.50. Richmond is so unaffordable, and now we are one of the most unaffordable city in North America. And talking about affordability, it's not just one term government can fix it. That's why an affiliated candidate like me will be able to hold the government accountable and make sure they spend wisely without going beyond the budget and without spending rigorously without thinking of the results. That is extremely important. And Okay. Wow. I've been door knocked on every single house almost in my riding, and people did talk to me about something that they're really concerned about: PHASE, public safety, healthcare, affordability, senior and child care, economy, and education. And this is all it matters. This one is it. Thank you.
Sorry about the technical glitches there. I was going to take a second off Kelly because she answered someone else's, but we didn't. So. But we're trying to keep to the 2 minutes. So go ahead, Michelle.
So I just wanted you to repeat the question again. And it's not for me, but I just wanted to make sure everybody heard what was the question.
So the topics were affordable housing and homelessness, food accessibility, transportation and transit, health and social services, income security, and childcare. So taking into account all these at the local and provincial stage, what will your actions be to increase accessibility and affordability?
Thank you. So I wanted to make sure I answered that question because we weren't really getting those answers properly just now. So for me, I want us to see our communities, and it doesn't matter if it's all communities. Richmond Steveston, it's all of Richmond, it's all of Vancouver, it's all across BC. I want us to have a safe and thriving community. And a safe and thriving community means affordable housing, but appropriate housing. So if a family wants to have children, or if a senior wants to stay in their own home, they have that choice. They have the choice to find the kind of home that's going to be best suit their needs. We also need to talk about safety in the communities. Now, I'm a big advocate of preventing children from turning to drugs or youth turning to drugs in developing mental health issues. We need to have more programs in the communities that actually provide support for those children and youth and young adults. We also need to focus on supporting businesses so that they can hire people and have those communities grow. The more we can build on our communities, the communities will thrive and everyone will have a happy and healthy and wholesome survival. I also want to say that in the schools, we must focus on anti-racism and anti-Semitism as well.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for answering our theme question. And I should have maybe repeated halfway through, but I think it was everybody was able to give a little piece there. So moving on to the questions that we have compiled, we're going to start with healthcare, and we're going to ask specific candidates to answer these questions, and kind of based and a little bit on what you've already been talking about. So I'm going to direct the first question to Sunny Ho, because he did mention seniors. And so given that many seniors live at or near the poverty line, they often must make a choice between refilling a pharmaceutical prescription or buying food. So the question is, what specific measures would you put in place to rectify these inequalities faced by too many seniors to improve their quality of life? And you have 2 minutes to answer.
Yeah, I'm a senior also. So I think first of all, it's housing. That is affordable senior housing. Secondly, is they have medical care. So that is important, how the government, provincial government, provide these resources to which community, Richmond or Surrey. So we need more resources. That means we need new hospital and also more health care to the city of the Richmond, to the people of the Richmond. So, and also, I think the pharmacy, the jobs for the senior is also important. So I'm fighting for you, for the jobs, support for the provincial government. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And second question around healthcare is for Kelly. So in British Columbia, almost 1 million people don't have a family doctor. The shortage of family doctors is serious and hasn't caught up with the increase in population. So what would you do to provide a family doctor to every BC resident who wants one?
Thanks so much. That's a wonderful question, because family physicians in particular are so important for having that continuity of care, somebody that knows your medical history, you're comfortable with, that you can go to them and they're your trusted healthcare partner. And so making sure that we're doing everything we can to hire more family doctors. The $1 million figure needs a bit of an update, though it's out of date. We have had a lot of success in the last year with the reforms that we've implemented for family physicians. So in the last about 14 months, we've hired over 800 new family doctors, and that's reduced our wait list in BC by 300,000 people. We've also modernized the way that you find a family doctor, because we were finding that Some people were having really uneven success because there was not a single portal that you could go to. So we've implemented a single portal where you can sign up. And so as new family doctors are coming online, you're assigned, those new family doctors are assigned a patient panel. And so we've sped up that process significantly with new procedures. But the biggest fundamental change for getting access to a family doctor was reforming the payment model, which was long overdue, so that the work that family doctors do is appropriately compensated, because we know that they are the cornerstone for our longitudinal wellness. And so making sure that their work is respected and compensated correctly is very important. And then also finally, we do have a lot of people coming here from all over the world who have degrees in things that we want them to work in here, one of them being a family doctor. They can have an excellent degree, excellent credentials from other countries, and we want them to work here, but there's unnecessary barriers to entry. And so we've reduced those barriers to entry. We are seeing foreign trained doctors, high quality doctors coming through this program, and it's making a difference.
Thank you. And our next topic is child and youth care. I have a question for Cindy. So BC families need good quality, affordable, and accessible childcare. Many spaces in BC are not yet at the $10 a day target. Wait lists are long, with regulated space for less than 20% of children. So the question is, how would you institute the delivery of quality or good quality, affordable childcare and create the thousands of additional childcare spaces needed to support families and allow women to work?
Okay, so for me, I think the first part is we can work with the government to increase the wages for childcare workers as well. So more people will be interested in working at a childcare job, so they will come into this industry so we can have more job for them. And secondly, I think we should also explain the availability for childcare spaces, because right now we don't have that much qualified availability for childcare spaces. We want to expand the spaces as well. So for both of the spaces and both also for the people that are willing to work in this childcare industry, we can have more support in childcare industry. And then maybe we can also work on for the longer time for childcare, because for a lot of modern families, parents are working pretty late, so maybe they can extend the childcare hours as well. So that kind of will be more suitable for modern families as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And then still on youth, children and youth, the next question is for Michelle. So youth aging out of foster care experience unexpectedly high levels of homelessness, mental health issues, and low graduation rates. So how will you work to create an action plan that responds to youth aging out of care?
Okay, so this topic is very dear for me. I have a friend of mine, his name is Josh. He just recently, well, last year he aged out of foster care. And in October, his two brothers died of a drug overdose 2 weeks apart. And a week later, his mother died of alcohol poisoning. So he has no proper support when it comes with him coming out of the foster care program. And I'd like to see that change. Too many children who are in foster care are left to their own devices. And a lot of them do end up on the streets. We need to have a proper infrastructure place that children can go to, that is a safe place. I don't know if you know this, but I'm sure everybody's heard of the Covenant House, and they advertise it, and it's youth who can go in if you're homeless, and it's a safe place that you can go. But for young children who feel they're not safe at home or they're uncomfortable in their foster care, they think that they can go to the Covenant House. But if they're under the age of 16, they will actually phone, the Covenant House will phone back the parents and then force the kids to go back. to that home that they just ran away from. So then they run away, and then they're back on the streets. We've just experienced like a young girl in one of the camps who died with access to drugs as well. So we do need to have more support systems in place. We need to have more community centers or centers to actually help provide the support for those kids. And we need to have proper job training programs and apprenticeship programs for the kids, not just those that are aging out of foster care, but for all kids. Again, we need to have a safe and thriving community for everyone.
Thank you. And just on, we have a question about poverty reduction, and this is for Dickens. So the government has a provincial poverty reduction strategy with targets and timelines. In the meantime, we've been faced with the fallout of COVID, huge jumps in rents, and major increases in the number of families and individuals accessing the food bank. So what poverty reduction policies would you implement to ensure government can effectively ameliorate the stresses of daily life for Richmond families and individuals?
Thank you, Maria. That's a very good question. When it comes to poverty, I believe that at the root of it, it's a money problem. So, I mean, let's just get to the basics. If the government had more money in its budget to address this issue, there's a lot more programs, there's a lot more services, there's a lot more accessibility that can be had. So the first thing we need to do is we need to audit the provincial government from the top down. See where there is money that's being wasted, see where there's unnecessary expenses, because that's the way we can really get the savings quickly. If we have the money in place, then we can implement a lot of programs. I understand that Canadians are suffering, but the money right now that we're collecting through our tax dollars are definitely not going to the right place. I don't know if you recall, but when it comes to housing, BC Housing, the previous CEO, Shane Ramsey, he had his little thing with his spouse, who was also CEO of Atira, and there was clear ethics violations and conflict of interest. How much money is being funneled into private corporations or charities or whatnot? We don't know. We don't know where that money is going. So little by little, our hard-earned tax dollars are being siphoned away into places where they should not be. And so when we start from there and we get our books cleaned up and we have the money that we need to implement all these programs, I think that the money can be directed to those who need it most, which are the people who are going to the food banks, people who are homeless, they cannot find a place to live. And just talking about all these symptoms and wish lists, nice sounding policies doesn't solve the problem. We need the money. We need the money to do all this. So that's my solution. Thank you.
Thank you. So we all know that housing is a big topic, and many of you brought it up, and so we want to ask a few questions about affordable housing. I think we all feel the strain and stress of this topic these days. Our first question is for Wendy. So the latest census says almost half of Richmond renters spend more than 30% of their gross income on housing. Richmond has a dearth of non-market housing, and ordinary working people are paying market rents they can't afford. Many people working in Richmond cannot even afford to live here. So the question is, what actions would you take to encourage the building, renovating, and or subsidizing of non-market housing for renters who want to live in Richmond?
That's a very important question. As I said earlier, on the doorsteps that I've been talking to lots of voters who have that very same issue. This housing is a human rights issue. People that are actually have been living in Richmond, whether they're young people or us as adults, we deserve to live in our own community that we love. But the fact is, a lot of people have been forced out of their own community. I was just talking to my only son the other day, who's just got married 2 days ago, and he was saying, Mom, you know, you always tell me about the stories about, you know, you came with $50, the sky is the limit, you should just, you know, really work hard and you'll get there. But he said, the reality is, Mom, you know, we as young people, I have been working really hard, 14 hours a day, but you know what, I don't get anywhere because, you know, just as we were going to get married, we wanted just a simple two apartment. A house with two rooms, and then that's all we asked for. But you and Dad has to dish out maybe, you know, some money for down payment, and so this is not right. So I'm saying that as an independent candidate, I will make sure that some of the government lands are going to be utilized to be actually built affordable housing and for seniors and low-income families and young people who cannot afford. And then we also should encourage them to actually, you know, maybe rent first and then own later. That's really my solution. Thank you.
Thank you. Our second question about housing is for Linda. And so vulnerable populations such as seniors, families, working poor, and people with disabilities should have access to adequate, appropriate, and affordable housing to live and thrive in Richmond. So our question is, how would you ensure there's adequate and appropriate and affordable housing for Richmond's most vulnerable populations?
Okay, so first of all, I would like to talk about the economy for right now, because right now everyone just facing the global inflation and the high interest rate. So the life is not just hard for everyday people, especially for those people with disabilities. So for BC NDP, we'll launch the House Action Plan. So we are we aim to build like 300,000 new homes over the next 10 years. So especially recently we just announced the opening doors for home ownership plan to help 25,000 middle class families break into the housing market every year by financing 40% of the purchase price by provincial government. So, and also I'm thinking about when we just cut those MSP, we reduce the ICBC rates. So those, we just put money back in people's pocket. So that's also will help us help the people with disabilities. They can have a little bit better life. Thank you.
Thank you, Linda. And our next question is for Jackie. So regarding the supportive housing project in Richmond that was recently put on hold, the provincial government said, we know that everyone in our communities is safer when they have shelter and housing because people are able to stabilize and access the services and treatment they need to rebuild their lives. So if you are in favor of this housing project, why do you think it was suspended? And you can give your criticism of why it was. And if you're against the project, which there was a lot of opposition to it in the community, why?
Thank you for asking me this question, because I was there in the rally and among the crowd to listen to the people. This is a very excellent topic, and I did reach out to different city councillors and the mayor to talk about this topic, because the choosing of the location is up to the city and is at the provincial level or the BC Housing to advise the city on whether there's a need or not. In my position, Again, as unaffiliated candidates, this is a good opportunity for Richmond, for the people living in Richmond who has this choice to tell me exactly what they want, and specifically for the people in Richmond. Because if I attach to any party, then the party will tell me, hey, this is needed, this is not needed, this is the reason why, this is the reason not supporting or supporting it. But now I get to listen to every one of you, and that's the reason why I knock at every single house in my riding that is allowed to knock on and listen to every one of you. And this is extremely important for us to get back to the Victoria and hold a balance of power. If it's a minority government, then we can tell the government, hey, this is what the Richmond people need. This is our voice, and this is what we need. The housing projects, let's touch on that one, Cambie and Sexsmith. If there's a need on it, then the city has to communicate better with the citizen on why there's the location there and what is the criteria to get into that housing, whether it is for the seniors who cannot afford to have a home there, or whether it is someone for disability that cannot find a home and need to have that housing project in that location. And this is extremely important for the communications between different levels of government. And I am the one who can hold this balance, who be the voice to reflect to city level, from Victoria, from the citizen to everyone. So this is extremely important for this communication. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question is for Tomasz. And I was supposed to cut down this preamble a little bit, but I think I'll go for the whole thing. It's quite long. So cooperative housing has long been an essential source of wheelchair accessible and housing designed for wheelchairs, both to those who require rental subsidy as well as for those who do not. Presently, when a co-op's agreement with BC Housing to receive subsidies for their building ends, there's only a temporary stopgap program offered through CMHC. It is not yet clear what will happen when the CMHC agreement ends. So a lot of them are kind of waiting in that limbo, are they going to get it? To help, so the question is, to help protect our valuable housing supply for the disability community, what will you do to work with the Co-op Housing Federation of BC and BC Housing to ensure long-term subsidy plans are in place for co-ops?
Thanks for that question. Okay, I haven't dealt with those bodies yet. With community association, one of the things that I do is, firstly, I listen, we're always monitoring our communications channels, so when subjects come up of any nature, we want to see firstly that if there's an issue, the person who's bringing the issue up is safe. So safety is first. Want to make sure people are covered, there's some kind of protection in place. So that means also financial safety, not just physical safety. So that'd be the first priority. Second priority would be to go to those bodies, find the person to talk to. Too often we have this issue of kind of learned helplessness where we don't know where to turn, who to speak to. So that's what my success has been as president of the community association, is to go talk with the city, speak with the CMHC, speak with the, what was the body called? Cooperative Federation, I think you mentioned, something of that nature?
Cooperative Housing.
Cooperative Housing Federation?
Yeah.
So find the players, find the stakeholders, find the decision makers, and then try and understand what the situation is firstly, get the evidence, try and understand what the best solution is for everyone. And here's my favorite phrase, it sounds a little bit negative, but my goal is to try and make everyone equally unhappy. So what that means is you have to give something up for a good compromise. So the fact is that we are solutions-based. The Green Party does the same thing. Solutions-based, evidence-based. Gather the information, gather the people, speak together, and figure out a solution. Thank you.
Thank you. And just we have one question on food security, and this is for Errol. Yeah. So by all standards, British Columbia is a very wealthy province. Yet in Richmond, more than 1,300 residents weekly depend on our food bank, and 30% of those clients are children. The number of clients increased by 62% after COVID. There is even an evening distribution for working families and a morning distribution dedicated to seniors. So the question is, what steps and what commitment do you have to reduce the need for food banks?
Thank you. I'll be brutally honest, I haven't, as much as I recognize food security or the lack thereof is a huge issue, I haven't given a great deal of thought to solutions to that problem. That said, I think we're all aware of all of the greenhouses, especially in the Latin area, for example. I've often wondered where all of the food that is grown in those greenhouses goes to, or why we're importing food from California and other parts of Canada. It seems to me we should be, BC, if it, dare I say, was run properly, should be 100% self-sufficient for food. I scratch my head. I don't get it. I don't understand why there are food shortages. Regarding food banks, I think it's sad that we have arrived at a point in history, whether it's food shortages, housing, whatever the problems are. Canada is supposed to be a first world country, and I don't understand why we have these completely out of control problems. Well, okay, let me back up a little bit. I do understand. I think it's a huge part of the problem is what I describe as the completely out of control immigration crisis. We've got more than enough problems here already, and yet we keep bringing people in, so many of them unvetted. It's had that. We need to turn off that tap, the immigration tap. I'm not a racist. I'm not a racist. But that tap has to be turned off, at least temporarily.
Thank you. And the next question is on transportations for Glynis. So the housing crisis, and it's linked to housing as everything seems to be these days, the housing crisis is making regional transportation problems worse by forcing people to live far away from where they work. For low-income working people, bus fare is a significant monthly expense. Children have free transit now, but teens and low-income adults do not. So the question is, what will you do to support low-income people to access public transportation that will not cause them undue hardship?
Thank you very much for your question. Well, first of all, our government's over budget, overspending the money from our taxpayer. So that government have no extra money to help our low-income residents. So the government is the problem. If we need to help look after our resident here, definitely government had to cut the budget. And we have to monitor how they spend out our money to what we don't know, no solution. Of course, when you build up housing for the people living far away, definitely we have to coordinate the system of the transportation to let the people can move in and out much easier. Since we have air pollution, and we like to support, air pollution, how to solve the air pollution. Then, how using a bike? How do you, no car to drive to work from home, or work to somewhere close by with the transportation? The government must to work out a good plan to coordinate both segments in order to keep our people in a good place, like a satellite town. Okay, if you say like supporting housing site on Sesame and Canby by the government NDP, this is ridiculous. This is a piece of value of the land. We can build something else to make more revenue to the government or benefit to our merchants, to work there. So we have to think about somewhere. There's more open space to build up more housing for our people, coordinate with our transportation. Low-income family, our transportation must to support them, have a low-cost bus fare, let them to moving in and out. That's the way how to move our city in a way to be good. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Everybody's gotten one question so far. I have to tell you a small anecdote. We were discussing this in our newsroom and with Dee and so forth. And the last municipal election, there were 22 candidates, if I remember correctly. And so feel privileged that you're going to be getting as many questions as you do, that it's only split between 11 people. So just bear with us, and we'd love to give you more space to speak, but unfortunately that's not possible. So I'm going to ask our next question, and this came from the floor about food security, and this is for Linda. The question is, and I believe this is referring to eco-waste. So in 2023, 150 acres of ALR land was removed, reducing farmland even more in Richmond. If you remember, that was a provincial decision. With climate change making food more expensive, how do you plan to ensure we have an affordable local food supply in the years to come?
Thank you for the question. For everyone we know, we always say we just eat local. We love local. So this is just, it is not a climate change problem. So right now, we're just encouraging people just eat local. That's the thing, because we like, sorry, that's, okay. Actually, I'm the member of Garden City Conversation Society. We're always talking about the forest. We're always talking about the reserve lands. Not just we want to protect the environment, also we want to reserve the land to produce food. That's why I'm still talking about just eat local. The BC NDP government introduced like Clean BC, so we just reduce the emission and invest in clean energy and create green jobs. We create green jobs. Also, we would like to have green food for everyone. So that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you. And this other question is also from the floor. It's to do with education, and this is for Wendy. So Richmond schools have experienced significant enrollment growth, particularly in city center. So what would you do if in government to address this issue? I think we just wrote a story today at the Richmond News about how another school got modular homes, but
yeah, so can you repeat the question again?
Sorry, I distracted you with my anecdote. So Richmond schools have experienced significant enrollment growth, particularly in city center. So what, if you were in government, what would be your plan to address this issue?
So the schools in Richmond for sure needs more spaces, and there are lots of modular spaces for Richmond schools. But the thing is, right now, I think the funding is absolutely lacking from the federal government. Even though the NDP government has been saying that we're going to be funding the schools, especially in Richmond, but there are very, very few things that have been actually being done in terms of expanding these schools, and also to increase the numbers of the modular or just the regular spaces, because the spaces, like my son used to go to Splaquax. I remember in those days, the Splaquax had problems too, but even though that's not Richmond Center, that's Bridgeport. But the thing is, I do think the key problem lies in where we are severely lacking funding from the government. And also the city has to also address this issue, like work with the provincial government to ensure that we, and the school board has to also come up with the local solutions. Because I think we do need our local school board and cities to come up with some viable, like some really workable solutions so that we can work with the the provincial government so that they do hear us. Because right now, I think there is a lack of communication, and I don't think our school needs and parents' needs and students' needs are being addressed at all right now. So I just do think that we do need to talk to the government provincially. Thank you.
And we have a couple questions on income security. And so, since 2020, income assistance rates for seniors, people with disabilities, and those seeking work have only inched up while the cost of living has increased astronomically. And sorry, I was going to say the first one is for Kelly. Question. Yes, sorry, I was looking at you. Yeah.
Everybody pay attention.
Yes.
You don't know who's going.
Have to read my mind here. Even working full-time at the new minimum wage of $17.40 per hour, the working poor don't even reach the poverty line. So our first question on this topic is, what is your position on increasing basic social assistance earnings and earnings exemptions for individuals, families, single parents, people with disabilities, and seniors?
Thanks so much. I think that fundamentally the economy needs to work for everybody. If somebody is working full-time and they can't put a roof over their head, they can't get groceries, they lack the fundamentals, is that we need to work at making an economy that is for everyone. And so some of the actions that we're taking are ensuring that we're not leaving people behind. Because if our GDP is going up and everything is great for the guys at the top, but not for everybody else, then we need to make some adjustments. And so making sure that our minimum wage is increased is a very important aspect of making sure the economy works for everyone. And just raising the minimum wage on its own has lifted tens of thousands of children out of poverty, because very often the earners of minimum wage are women who have children. And so this is really, really fundamental to making sure that we're looking after families. We have raised social assistance rates a number of times over our tenure in government, and we continue to be committed to making sure that we're looking after folks that need the help. Things like reinstating the bus passes for PWD, those were taken away in previous governments, and we made sure that we reinstated those because that's a real fairness in principle at play there. We're also for seniors. We doubled the senior supplement and got that out to an additional 20,000 more seniors. So continuing to make these investments, reaching more people. We know that there is still a gap and we're committed to closing it. I'd like to also offer that when we look after each other, this is a high-tech event. So I'd just like to say that an economy works for everyone is really an important tenet in moving forward in building an economy in BC and making sure that people have opportunities, and that also that we're looking after people that need extra help. Thank you. You can ding the bell now.
I brought that from the Richmond News office. I was told by my boss to take it along. So just a little bit of a follow-up on that, and for Jackie. And I think a lot of people hear the concept of like a living wage, and we have a minimum wage here. So What would you do, and you as an independent candidate, if you don't belong to a party now, but if you were elected as the independent, what would you do to increase the minimum wage so we would start to get people above the poverty line?
Thank you. As I mentioned in my story, that $1,000 salary when I first come to Vancouver and Richmond, after the tax, I cannot pay for my rental. There's something happened for a lot of people nowadays. And I think that the program is not just about the minimum wage, because if you increase the minimum wage, the small business may suffer along with the other benefits for the employee and so on. A lot of them is also from the taxation system. We are in a very high tax country and a very high tax province. Tax after tax after tax, and I don't even know how much money I earn goes to the tax, probably 60-70% for some of the people. And no matter how hard you work, sometimes a lot of your money is going to the taxation, and the taxpayer, like I'm one of them, it has no idea on why the taxes keep going up, but the service that we are getting is getting worse. The government keeps spending the money, and the education, the healthcare, the public safety are getting worse. Why is it like this? Simply because there's a lot of different parties, politics going on, and no one holding the current government accountable. As an affiliated independent candidate, I will be in the road to ask the questions for all of you, that why the government is spending like this, and could we spend it wisely so that we can have more money for the people in need, so that we can pay less tax, we can cut more tax and improve the economy. This happened before, after the 7 years of chaos, so-called, from the NTP government, blame climate and so on, that we have a government that cut a lot of tax and the economy is getting better. And I will be the one to hold the governments accountable, and when I say I, is with a group of individuals and affiliated candidates. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, that's too much.
And so we had a few questions come in also in advance of this event, as we solicited them online. And this one is for Dickens. It's to do with home health care.
Pardon me?
Home health care, yes. So how would you ensure, and the topic is cost effectiveness and prevention in healthcare. So how will you ensure that home health care is integrated with other healthcare services to provide preventative care, reduce hospital readmissions, and save healthcare costs in the long run?
Thank you, Maria. That's a very good question. Okay, so sometimes I might sound like a broken record, but I think the basis, the foundation of all these problems that we're facing is a lack of accountability and transparency. So when we talk about efficiency, we need to do a top-level audit on what the processes currently are and how the different services between, like home healthcare and the healthcare system, how are they being conducted right now? Where are areas that we can make improvements? I worked in the manufacturing industry for a number of years, and one of the things that we do first is we have to do gap assessment, which means an auditor has to come in and has to look at every process from, shipping, receiving, sanitation, hygiene, every little bit. We have to see where there can be improvements made. So opportunities for improvement, the auditors will give us that. And so we need to do that. Instead of trying to give a Band-Aid solution and say, okay, well, we're gonna do this, but honestly, do you have the money to do that? You don't know, you don't even know where everything's going wrong. And then you try to give a solution. I think that's putting the cart before the horse. So you need to do a very specific and very detailed and comprehensive audit of what's going on right now in the home healthcare and seeing where, improvements can be made. And, I'm gonna tell you for sure, when an auditor comes in to do this, you're gonna see a lot of wastage, a lot of inefficiencies, and that has to stop. And that's where a lot of our money is going, is to feed these inefficiencies, and no one is getting the results that they want. More and more money is being spent, more and more taxes are being paid, and like Jackie said, we don't get more service. So what's going on here? Something doesn't add up. We got to see the gap assessment, which is the audit first. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And we have another question as well related to housing, and this is going to be for Glynis. And this came online, somebody submitted this. So again, the preamble being housing and its many downstream effects is a big issue facing Richmondites and British Columbians. So what would be some policies that you'd support that would bring rent down?
Thanks for your. It's a very serious problem talking about housing. Richmond is been a high populated city and it's underwater. I mean, it's above the water. So limited land that to build up the housing. I would say we have a lot of immigrants come over here. They might like choose to stay in Richmond. So it's not really good, affordable for them to stay right away what they have here. So I think the government should build up certain housings with a low cost. So couple days ago, our government going to have a housing building around the QE Park, and that land is very expensive, and the housing around there is expensive. So if you have this land and support the housing, and then renter or buyer still have to pay at least like 40 or 60%, if I'm right to say that. There's still a certain amount of dollars. Why the government don't choose somewhere less expensive land to support the housing there? Why you had to build a housing in the higher end properties? I'm not discriminating anyone. But that value sitting there is very expensive. Why the government buying that piece of land to build a house for low-income people there? I don't feel comfortable living there. Okay, I would like to live in like a neighborhood and feel equal. So if we're able to have a housing around the neighborhood with a good transportation system, that's important. To drive the people there, to live there as a satellite town, as I said previously. Okay? So this will be more affordable for anyone who would like to stay there. Thank you.
Thank you. And we got a question from the floor. Somebody wrote in their handwriting. I hope I can read this. And so this is for Michelle. And it's on education. So there's a bit of a long preamble and a question here. So ensuring that schools are safe and inclusive environments is crucial for the well-being and success of all students. Programs that support students' understanding of sexual orientation, gender identity, and anti-discrimination foster respectful and welcoming school culture. So the question is, how will you ensure that schools are safe, inclusive, and welcoming for all students? And how will you support, sorry, it's two questions. How will you support and protect programs that educate and support students regarding sexual orientation and gender identity?
Well, I think I know that question was going to come to me as a conservative. Okay, so for me, schools should be a safe haven for everyone. And it shouldn't be targeted towards the LGBTQ community. It should not be a place where, people who are, Jewish faith, who have to face anti-Semitism. It also shouldn't be a place where, any child, whether they have a physical or a mental or an emotional disability, feels unsafe as well. So what we want to do is, and yes, we did talk about cancelling out the SOGI 123 program. I'm a firm believer that we should be teaching fair, understanding, respect for everyone. That's what we should be teaching. And when it comes to the sexualization with the curriculum that's going on with SOGI 123,
Sorry, I'm sorry, nothing from the audience, please. Thank
Can
you.
I just, please,
Yeah.
let me just finish, okay? I do believe that a child should learn about sex education. We all did, we all learned about it. But I also feel that a child should be taught to respect other children, no matter what their background is or what their orientation is. That is what we need to be focusing on. And it's really sad when a teacher quits her job because she's told that she's only allowed to teach anti-racism or discrimination for one group only, when we should be doing it for everyone. So all I'm saying is that we need to, in education, focus on teaching equality for everyone.
Thank you. Sorry for the interruption, Michelle. And if we can just, the audience, we please ask you not to, you can speak with the candidates hopefully afterwards and so forth, but just to not shout out. Thank you. So we will go on to another question that was sent online. And this is about healthcare. And sorry, Cindy, this is for you. Sorry, didn't write it down here. So the healthcare system, as we all know, is extremely strained. So you're lucky if you have a family doctor. Sometimes it takes a long time to get appointments, specialist bookings, hospitals are crammed, emergency care is available, but only if you're seriously injured. So these are just some of the issues. So what would you do to improve the situation if you were elected as an independent?
So for this question, just like my background, even though I studied design in New York and also in UK, but after I finished my study, I came back to my hometown, to Richmond here, to establish my art school. So I think there are a lot of people that has the knowledge that are overseas or they do their degree outside. But if we can have better wages, we can have better support for them. They will come back here, and then they can be a family doctor here to support people in Canada, which is their friends or families or friends around here. I think it will be a really nice way. And then I think we can also think about some creative way to take care of each other. So for example, we can think of maybe a town bank system. So maybe when children, they're really young, they can readings, they can accompany senior. So they can recording how many hours they kind of accompany senior, or they can learn from each other. So one day when they get older, someone will accompany them to do drawing with them, to do crafting with them. That is a town bank system that without any money needed in this way. Children can learn from senior, and when senior is older, they can be accompanied by children as well. And I think this is a really good system and this is just one example, I think, on my spot, but we can think of more systems that kind of like this. We can creative way to support each other as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And it feels like some of our questions are going back and forth, but we're trying to balance getting questions that people have sent in and people are sending from the floor. So the next question is for Tamash, and it's once again transit, and the preamble that was sent in is that transit is a key part of addressing myriad social issues, from affordability to climate to public safety. So what are the steps from your party to ensure everyone has access to affordable and accessible transit?
Thank you for that question. So if you had a chance to look at bcgreens.ca, I encourage you to have a look. The first 3 words you're going to notice, hopefully, are putting people first. And that's that resonates with me, so that's why I feel like I'm definitely a green person for that reason. One of the other things that you'll notice is a media releases section. So if you check the media releases, one of the planks of our platform, which will be released in just shortly after the election, we're working on releasing pieces of it bit by bit to give people highlights of what's coming, is a transportation piece. And what they're proposing, what we're proposing, what Sonia, our leader, is proposing, and our leadership, shall we say, is fast, frequent, free transit. That's it. Simple as that. That's all you need to know. Fast, frequent, free. Free transit. Ambitious? Yes. But it puts people first. And it solves two issues with one stone. It addresses two issues with one stone. The climate question, as well as affordability. So you're helping people, and you're also helping the environment. Ambitious, but if you choose the green option, it could work. And it could be a really great option. So give it some thought. Of course, we're open to discussion and collaboration and innovation. So maybe we can find a collaborative, innovative thing where not everybody is equally unhappy. Thanks. That's for now.
That might be one of those 3-word slogans.
Maybe.
All right. So we have a question for Errol, and this again was sent in advance today. And it's again talking about the ongoing housing and homelessness crisis, which is growing. So I'm wondering what specific actions, so not speaking generally, but what specific actions would you propose to address the homelessness and housing crisis? And can you back your action plan with some data or some evidence-based information?
Okay, thank you for that, Maria. Yeah, as I said previously, whether it's the housing, the food, the drug crisis, the crime crisis, all of it, ultimately, I would suggest that it goes back to the completely out of control immigration. If we want to solve any or all of those problems, we've got to turn off the immigration tap. Those numbers are completely out of control, and I personally, I see no solution to any of these problems until we turn off that tap. Yeah, again, as others have said, as an independent candidate, I would go to you mentioned data. I haven't seen any specific data lately on the homelessness issue. I know it's a major problem, it's out of control. Yeah, I would, again, as an independent, I would go to my constituents and talk to them, ask them if they have ideas, solutions. I don't have all the answers. I strongly suspect most of them would concur with me that, and dare I say, even the non-white immigrants or second or third generation people that have been born here, I've heard a lot of them saying the immigration is out of control. So again, until and I know that's more of a federal issue, but with any luck at all, MLAs work with MPs and talk to them and describe the problems and demand that they do something about it.
Thank you. And then a question to Sunny, still on the housing crisis. So BC this is the preamble that was sent in. BC is facing a housing crisis that is making the cost of living more expensive for working people, which I think we've heard many times today. So some countries like Japan and New Zealand and others have reduced things like red tape and have made housing thereby more affordable for regular people. So if you were to be elected, would you do something to reduce red tape or otherwise liberalize housing policies to increase supply and improve affordability?
If I will elect, I will form a affordable housing community in provincial government to study the resources of our province. I get my accounting degree. I'm good in auditing. I see what is the money in the government that will be support for the affordable housing. And then we can organize a community working for that. So I know that the affordable housing problem is, democracy with, provincial government, city will work together. So more affordable housing, that will resolve that problem. Thank you. What I mean, more housing, that means more space for the senior and more low-income people, and then that problem can be resolved.
Thank you. So we have another question that's been sent in advance, and I'd actually like to pose this question to both Kelly and to Michelle. So I don't know if we should draw straws or, we'll go in alphabetical, Kelly, then Michelle. So you can both answer it. So I'll just read the preamble first. So both the NDP and the Conservatives have promised to look into involuntary care under the Mental Health Act. The NDP has proposed this would only be aimed for extreme cases with complex mental health comorbidities and substance use dependency. The Conservatives, on the other hand, have promised a zero tolerance position. So Kelly, first you can answer, what approach would you take as far as involuntary care is concerned?
Thanks so much. I think I'd like to offer a preamble of myself. Because there's so often a conflation between mental health and addiction and violence. And somebody who suffers from addiction is not necessarily violent. Somebody who has a mental health issue is not necessarily addicted or violent. And so we need to make sure that we're using language that doesn't dehumanize people, that really respects the difficult place that they're in. Nobody wakes up in the morning and says, you know what, it would be really great. I think I'd really like to be an addict. Nobody. It's a hard life. And I've talked to so many people who have lost loved ones to the toxic drug crisis. Those people all had families and friends that loved them dearly. And we need to make sure that we're getting people into treatment wherever we can, and that we are not prosecuting them for mental health or an addiction problem where they need help in a medical way is not going to help them get better. So we want to make sure that people can get better. We want them to be productive. We want them to have a life that we all enjoy, where we can go home at the end of the day and not really worry about the demon of drug addiction. In terms of involuntary treatment, that would happen in cases that were extreme, where there was situations where the individual is violent, is addicted to drugs, is suffering from mental health issues. And often when that is the case, they've had a traumatic brain injury over and over again because of the addiction taking control of their life. And so we want to make sure that we're being compassionate and getting care to people.
Thank you. And Michelle?
So a few years ago, I was actually on the board of the College of Psychiatric Nurses and also on the board of the College of Registered Nurses. And the mandate at that time was public safety. And I took that role as a public appointed board member very seriously. So now let's talk about public safety. When somebody is addicted to drugs, you can do drugs, that it's being decriminalized and everything else. But however, there's people who have long-term addiction and they can no longer take care of themselves. It is cruel. It is inhumane that they are allowed to stay on the streets without the proper care that they should have and they deserve as a human being. Not as an addict, but as a human being. A human being who is unable to take care of themselves. So we need to take care of them. We also just experienced another family. A 13-year-old daughter died. She died in one of those homeless camps with safe supply paraphernalia wrapped around her. Her parents wanted her to be taken care of, to have her put into an involuntary place where she can get the help that she needed. Again, it is cruel that we're not allowing the parents to have those kinds of resources around them. We need to have a lot of different kinds of solutions, and that includes involuntary care. We need to take care of the people that need the most help and are the most vulnerable.
Thank you. We're still getting questions in here, so we're organizing our papers here. We're not ignoring you. Thank you. So there was one other question about home care that had been sent in. So Linda, I'd like to ask this question of you. It's to do with equity and accessibility. So what strategies do you have for ensuring culturally competent and inclusive home care for diverse populations, including Indigenous and LGBTQ plus seniors?
Okay, so thank you for the question. So I'm the past president of the Richmond Chinese Community Society. So every year we will have like senior lunch. So we will invite like 500 seniors from different backgrounds. So that's why we want just promote the community harmony and also help the seniors that just against the isolation from the whole community. That's the thing we're doing for now. And back to your question. So what I say is we just quite inclusive, include everyone from different culture. It doesn't matter what's the gender identity or what background you come from. So we just make our city inclusive. And multiculturalism is a treasure of Canada. So that's why we all come here with so many immigrants. We come to Canada. We love this place. That's why we stay here. We love here. We have seeking opportunities, looking for a better life in this country. That's really important. We just make this city a safe, inclusive, and prosperous community for all. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question was also one that was sent in. We altered it just slightly. This is for Jackie, and it's about community safety. So statistics show that anti-Semitism and other forms of racism are on the rise in Canada. So what would you do as an elected MLA to ensure community safety in this regard?
This looks like a question designated to me. That's fantastic because I'm the director of the Chinese Community Policing Center. And this is in the bottom of my heart that I really love to improve the community safety. And in our Broadmoor neighborhood, we do have a Block Watch program. And if I get elected as the MLA, I will expand the grant program, not just for the Broadmoor Neighborhood Association, but for all the communities, so that we can have the grants for better block watch to prevent any crimes happening and to look out for each other within the neighborhoods, for the people living in Richmond. That is extremely important elements that you can increase as many police force, you can increase as many jail time, but still prevention is a really important element in our community. And I still remember when I first came to Canada in 1995, that is the time that I don't even need to lock my doors. And there is no mention of races, but for the last few years, people are pulling to different directions, too extreme, to different poles. And now what we want to do is to bring people together, to show everyone that we are one community, and this is what Canada is all about. And that's the reason why we are so proud to be Canadian. That's the Canadian value that we really cherish. Thank you.
Thank you. And we got a question from the floor, and this is for Wendy. We'll direct it for Wendy. Wasn't meant for you, but we'll direct it to you. Sometimes people ask for direct questions to direct candidates. So the question is, what would you do to help survivors of domestic violence? And I wonder if maybe we could expand that to say, like, how do we help to prevent domestic violence as well? But this was specifically asking, what would you do to help survivors of domestic violence? Okay, thank you.
So that is an important question, especially as a woman. I do hear a lot on the doorsteps that the domestic violence has been a problem, and it's been rising, especially with people losing jobs, and the economy is not doing well, and there's mental health issues and so on and so forth. So this domestic violence remains pretty front and center with a lot of households. And I, as a woman, and I also hear a lot of women, have been the victims of the domestic violence. And that is not acceptable in our community. And I do believe that we as government, if I do get the honor to be elected as your MLA, I will make sure that the appropriate department has to disperse, funding to help those who have been battered, especially women victims. And I think those centers that have been designed to help women or domestic, don't get me wrong, there are some men who were domestic violence victims as well. So I'm just saying that the government needs to make sure that the centers, the institutions who have that were created to help those victims have to be looking after by having enough funding so that when those victims have problems, they do have a place to go and they do have a roof over their shoulder and they have their, enough money to get by. So this problem actually has been underestimated and it is front and center, and I do believe that all levels of government need to do something, especially funding. Thank you.
Thank you. And the next question was also sent from the floor. This is for Glynis. And this sort of in a provincial context, right? Because this is a provincial election, but it does ask, excuse me, what level of responsibility socially does Richmond have in supporting our province by providing more social housing, resources for tackling the drug crisis, etc. And in the context of, do we expect Vancouver to carry the burden of homelessness for all? So the idea being that what burden should Richmond, or burden is maybe the wrong word, how much responsibility does Richmond have to take as opposed to Vancouver?
Face your question. First of all, I'd like to share with you, I've been here 44 years in Vancouver. I spent most of my time and business also in Chinatown, Vancouver. So I see Vancouver since the 1986 Expo, booming. All tourists come over. Unfortunately, and the government put the homeless people or drug dealers into the Chinatown on the Hastings area. So Chinatown crazy, and nobody like to go to Chinatown. I can show you why this election I step on here. Because I see Chinatown, how bad, how worst I can be a witness. I don't want Richmond City to be like Chinatown, like that happen. Really sad. So we have to protect Richmond. We need to get together. Our force can force our government, not just provincial, not just city municipal, as well the federal government, to protect our city in a better environment. Because British Columbia, one of the 4 industries is tourism. I've been in tourism industry over 40 years. Why we could not bring more tourists into here to spend the money, generate revenue to us, to help us to get more jobs, more business? Because government doesn't do the good job. They can't ignore the tourism, how important to our British Columbia. So we have to protect our city. Not just Chinatown, not just Richmond, it's a whole province, British Columbia. What we call nature beautiful, what's called the beautiful British Columbia, please work together. I need you, you need me, we all together go to Parliament House. Thank you.
Thank you. So the next question, we're going to go back to some that were prepared in advance, and the first one will be for Tamash, sorry. So many Canadians with disabilities are living in poverty, struggling to get food, clothing, housing, healthcare, and transportation, so forth. So the disability benefits right now are $1,535.50 a month. So would you commit to increasing the BC disability assistant rates to a livable level and ensure that these increases are tied to inflation?
Well, thank you. I'm scared of being the politician who makes promises that they can't keep. Quite frankly, I would have to really study this situation to really get the evidence, to really understand, to make certain that those numbers are accurate, and also consult with people at the same time, those people who are in those situations, and try and really understand, statistically analyze the problem, but not overanalyze it, of course, because we want to have a solution. So it's a very challenging question. My approach, again, I would fall back on the approach that I've been taking so far. Again, understanding what's going on, finding out the people in need, finding the people who are in the positions of authority, who actually administer programs that could assist these sorts of folks. Find out, are we actually behind? Are we actually, what do other organizations similarly, perhaps across Canada, do? I'm not quite sure where to begin, but I want to gather enough evidence that we can really make a rational decision, not just an emotional reaction, but something that's carefully thought through, but quickly, so people can get support at the same time. Could you repeat part of the question? Or maybe just 30 seconds, so maybe I should just close at this stage.
So ensuring that a livable level in these benefits, and as well, if they'd be tied to inflation. I think that was another
I see,
one.
okay. Well, again, that does sound rational. I don't want to promise anything. I want to say yes, but at the same time, I would have to study it to make sure that I can say yes, because I want to make sure that if I do say yes and commit to this, it stands. Thank you.
Thank you. And on the same topic for Cindy, we have a question. So there's always increasing costs in dental medical therapy, and many people on disability benefits have to choose between paying more per visit or reducing therapy for these benefits or for these services. So would you support offering free health benefits for people with disabilities in health benefits, medical equipment and devices, dental and glasses and so forth?
For the medical services, my answer is yes, because there will be one day that we will be older, or if some accident happened to us, maybe we want to have the same services as well. So compare us to the people already have disabilities or is in need of medical service. I think on that end, I would say yes to the medical service as well. Of course, this is because for us to live happily, one is housing, the second one is food, the third one is, of course, is medical services for us to ensure our happiness living in the society. I would definitely say yes to this answer. And then I would also think about maybe we can have more programs that are related to here. We can have more fundings that support this medical programs for mental health as well, for happiness, mental illness, or of course for dental service. We want more doctors, maybe for people that has a degree, maybe they're Canadian before, but they go to other countries for degrees. Maybe they will come back here, be a dental doctors for us as well. Yes, thank you.
Thank you. And a question for Aaron. So changes in demographics and in cultural ethnicity will have an impact on the shared cultural community as a whole. Shared values are favored to prevent division of the community from polarizing views on controversial issues. So how would you contribute to creating common grounds for controversial and polarizing views of different segments of society and groups and residents in a community?
Wow. Sorry, would you mind repeating it? I was...
Yeah, so how would you help to create common ground when there are controversial and polarizing views between different people, organizations, groups, and so forth in the community?
Okay, well, in addition to consulting with my constituents, and if I may right now, can I ask how many of the folks here are in Richmond, Queensborough? One. Okay, let's chat afterwards. Yeah, regarding quote regarding quote controversial issues, for me personally right now, and at the risk of sounding like Pierre Poilievre, I strongly believe there are common sense answers to a number of controversial issues. As you can see by my t-shirt, I think COVID was, I'll try and refrain from swearing, but it's BS. It's a crime against humanity, as is the case with SOGI, as is the case with the so-called climate crisis. I've been an environmentalist all my life, and I actually spent time in jail 2 years ago for my opposition to the TMX pipeline. I have since done a complete 180. I'm now of the opinion that if the climate crisis, if man is contributing to the climate crisis, it has much more to do with weather modification and cloud seeding than the burning of fossil fuels and a few cows farting.
Thank you. And we have a question for Sunny. And this is once again talking about seniors care. So given the projected shortage of long-term care beds in BC, how would you balance the need for expanding long-term care with expanding home health care?
That's a very good question. No need to balance more money to inject in it. Find out the the government, the funding, use priority. That is a very important priority. So both of them is very good, but put more money on that, especially for the senior care. Oh, that's my question. This is my answer.
All right. Thank you. And Dickens. We've got a sheet here and we're trying to keep track that we're getting everybody. So this is the third question. We should have covered everybody with 3 questions. Correct me if I'm wrong.
So I'm topping it off.
You're topping it off. And I
Save the best for last. I don't know. All right.
So the preamble to this question, we had the most vulnerable and marginalized populations are doubly impacted in accessing government services, especially in systems that are technology-based. Consequently, increasing social services are downloaded to local grassroots service agencies, which are struggling with funding, staffing, and resources. So how would you support local grassroots service agencies to ensure that service continuity through financial sustainability, talent retention, so they can be responsive to community needs? And we could cut that down a little bit. How would you support grassroots service agencies to be responsive to community needs?
That's a very good question. Thank you, Maria. Again, I don't want to sound like a broken record. I always say this because, at the end of the day, a lot of the problems that we have to do with money. Where does the money come from? Where are we going to get the money? How are we going to allocate the money? So it's a priority to support those in poverty or even below the poverty line. We need to prioritize that and put as much funding as possible towards these kind of services. The grassroots organizations, if they need funding, then they should be able to get funding readily. They shouldn't have to go through a lot of red tape, a lot of bureaucracy. If there's a need there, well, these are pretty much stopgap measures, right? People are starving, they're homeless, they need these services, so let's get it to them. If it's technology-based, well, I think, you need to put together a committee to address that right away, an emergency committee. How can we mitigate that? Well, go back to maybe have a paper-based parallel system if they can't access it, right? So these are the kind of solutions that we need to look at. We need to prioritize it, but before we even do all that, we need to do a very extensive audit of everything that we are doing so far, because right now we're in a mess. We can see that everywhere, and if you want to move forward, you need to clean up that mess first. You don't just kind of stand there with the mess and keep making more of a mess. You need to clean house. You need to know where there's money to be saved. You need to know where there's money to be made, what streams of revenue we can realize right away so that we can help the most vulnerable people in need. But what we have right now, whatever pool of money we have right now, we need to prioritize first. We can't say, okay, well, let's do something that's also important, but not as important as saving people. So we need to make sure that everyone has the services they need, and they have a roof over their head, and they have food to eat. These are the most important things. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and we really appreciate answering all these questions. And we would like to actually give each of you 1 minute to wrap up, and I'd actually like to challenge you to, because we've had a lot of different ideas thrown around here and different opinions and different ways of doing things, and I'd really challenge you to maybe rebut something that someone else has said that you disagree or you feel things should be done otherwise. But anyway, it's your minute to wrap up, so we'll start from my left and go to my right. So Glynis, you have 1 minute.
Again?
Yes.
I'm the last one to nominated for election. So I'm the first one to start with it. Thank you very much for your opportunity for me.
Thank you.
Well, thanks everybody to attend tonight. I'm very honored to be independent candidate. I can tell you I'm the person committed to our community over 40 years in Canada. I do my fundraising for cancer, for dementia, for senior home. I raised up a couple of $1 million already. I hate to see my government to spend the money in a good way. I'm so upset that my friend died in cancer or the problem dementia. And my son left me to the United States. So I would like to voice 100% on behalf of you in the provincial government. I will listen to you. I don't listen to any party. I'm just on behalf of you to go to parliament, to be MLA, to work for you as what I've done for my society, my city, my province, my country. That is the way you need me, I need you. Let us get together. We can make a change.
Thank you. And Linda?
Okay, thank you. Finally, my turn. Today I'm here. I just want to bring one message. Just one of the candidates bring out. Also, I know that's one young lady, 16 years old, just passed away due to the overdose. So I want to say is they are victims. They're not criminals. They need help, and we need to save their lives and send them to the treatment. So what we're doing right now, we just want saving life. Thank you. And also I want to say, if I'm get elected, I will listen to you, then act and advocate the policies that put people first. Thank you.
Thank you. Tomasz?
Thank you. You've learned the name really well. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Okay, so you heard that I don't really love the idea of being a politician. What I would like you to think of me as is a very concerned neighbor who wants to take our concerns to Victoria. So if you decide to hire me as your advocate with your vote, then that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to basically try and continue what we've been doing with the Community Association and basically try and build relationships with our neighbors, the city, YVR, the feds. We've had success with all of those areas, but provincially we haven't yet. So I've been building those bridges, but I would like to be the bridge. If you agree, then I would like to ask for your support. One last fun fact, I may be the first ever MLA candidate from Sea Island since Arthur Lang. I don't want a bridge, but I want to be the bridge. Don't name it after me though. Thanks everybody.
Thank you. And Dickens?
Everyone, would really like to thank everyone for taking the time to come out here and to get to know me. I'm a father and I'm a neighbor. I didn't actually aspire to be a politician, but seeing the way the things are right now, I feel a strong calling in my heart and soul to stand up for my community and to make changes that I believe that only a balance of power in the legislature can make. We need a good mix of independence. We need a good mix of the political parties. We need to work together. We need more dialogue. What we don't need right now is polarization. We don't need a far left versus a far right. We don't need divided communities. We're all Canadians. We all love our communities. We all love each other. And that's how we should do politics. And so this October, I hope to get your vote. I'm Dickens Chung, independent MLA candidate for Richmond Centre. And let's build a brighter and more beautiful future together for our families and for everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Sunny?
I'm a business. I live in Richmond over 30 years and doing the business in Richmond for 30 years also. Now Richmond is messing. You are cheating by the entity government. So I'm not a political, so I will fighting for you in the Victoria, especially for the city, for the senior citizen in Richmond. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Wendy?
Hi, thank you for being here tonight. And I just wanted to say that it is time for us to do politics differently. And I was just listening to my fellow independent Dickens there, and I think absolutely he's right. We do need our voice in the center. There are a lot of on the doorsteps I hear over and over again that people don't need to vote for people on the very right or people or the party on the very left. We do need a centrist candidate with the centrist views, and that is me. And I've been door knocking for the last year, and I've been knocking on 9,000 doors, and we've identified 6,000 people who had said to me, Wendy, I'm going to be voting for you. That was when I was with the BC United. But of course, we all know what happened to BC United. But right now, so therefore, when I'm running as an independent, I am all confident that all the hard work is not going to be down the drain, and vote for me, Wendy Yuan. Thank you.
Errol?
Thank you again. My name is Errol Poe. I'm running as the independent candidate in Richmond, Queensborough. Obviously, I think I stirred up a little bit of controversy here myself tonight, but again, there's this issue between the far left and the far right. One of my slogans is, we're not far right, but we're right so far. I've got copies of Druthers magazine, newspaper. I strongly encourage people to get it. You might consider it a right-wing publication, but there's lots of excellent articles in there, including a list of about 36 websites that are of great interest. You might think they're conspiracy theories. I've got a total of 4 responses when I get called a conspiracy theorist. Perhaps most notably, the best one is, what's the difference between a conspiracy theory and the truth? About 6 months. Thank you.
Thank you. Cindy?
Hi everyone, I'm Sandy Wu. I live in Queenborough for since I was in elementary school. So I went to the United States for my fashion design degree, and then afterward I went to the #1 design school in UK for interior design. So during my this year, I have been doing a lot of projects that I've seen a lot of sustainable system for how to build affordable housing and sustainable public transportation. And I want to bring all of my knowledge back to Canada here. So I think it's very important to elect me because I'm a role model for the younger generation. Let the younger generation work for you guys. I think it's a chance for giving me this opportunity. And then I'm the role model for Canadians that are working in the state or in the UK, coming back to Canada here to work for their city, to work for their country. Thank you.
Thank you. Kelly?
Thanks. I do want to offer my gratitude to the host tonight for creating this space where we can have this dialogue. I think it's really important. I also want to say that, you know, I hear from people on the doorstep who reach out to me. Times are tough, right? Like there's a lot of pressures on people, housing, affordability, climate change is a big worry for a lot of young families, especially here in Richmond. We're at 1 meter above sea level. When sea level rises, we need to be prepared. And when times are tough, it's really important that your government has your back. So as your BC NDP representative, always I'd be advocating for the community that I know and love, that I've been in almost my entire life. And we're going to take action for you. Action on housing, on healthcare, and on the environment, because the risk is too great. We can't go backwards. We need to continue to make investments in the things that matter in people's lives every day. And going backwards is the wrong direction. So I would just like to say we should lead with compassion and courage.
Jackie?
Hi everyone, I'm Jackie Lee, running for MLA for Richmond Steveston. A lot of my friends ask me why I want to run to be a politician. For my whole life, I've been working as a retail manager, as the entrepreneur. Taking pay cuts to become an MLA is someone like call me stupid. Things happened a few years ago when my dad went to ER and suffered in pain for hours. Our healthcare system used to be the best in North America, and for the last few years, it's go really down the drain there. I really have to say that it's important for us to have the voice in Victoria, someone now more than ever, that's someone in the middle, not constrained by party politics, not far left, not far right conspiracy, that holding the government accountable and providing transparency. That is extremely important to see someone in the community for 30 years, serving you guys for 30 years, and now will become your voice in Victoria, representing all of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle?
Thank you again for coming out, especially on a rainy night, and providing some very insightful questions that I hope we were able to answer. I just want to be very clear right now. The Conservative Party is a big tent party. We're not all extreme rights. I'm a center right. I believe in social responsibility and fiscal responsibility. We have NDPs who are running for MLA. We even have Andrew Weber, who's a former Green Party MLA, endorsing our climate action plan. So for me, I want to represent the people of Richmond and Richmond-Steveston. We need to bring back common sense back into the legislature. And John has said, first day, we're there, we're all taking an oath that we represent you in the legislature and not party politics, party ideologies. It's you and your voice. We represent you.
Thank you. So that wraps up our evening, and I'd like to thank you all for coming out tonight and speaking your mind, answering our questions. They were a little bit here and there. We went back and forth between a few subjects, but I hope we also got some represented what the audience wanted us to ask as well. And we wish you all luck with the election. And just lastly, I would like to point out, which I should have done at the beginning, that we had 4 co-hosts tonight. I'd like to thank them for putting this on. It's the Richmond Center for Disability, Richmond Poverty Reduction Coalition, the Jewish Seniors Alliance, the Kelly Society of Richmond. And And they had an army of volunteers who have been helping out tonight, and they've done a great job. I'm so happy we have tech people here doing stuff that I don't know how to do, and other organizations. So thank you all for coming out.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you.